Welcome back. Without detoxification, there can be no road to recovery. This evening, a conversation with a business owner who is participating in focusing on the detoxification component of the equation of getting oneself back to a healthy life, the road to recovery, sobriety, and of course, all of the best that life has to offer. It's 2018 and protocols are changing. They are expanding. They are becoming more specific, and I'm excited to talk with Ann Bolter about her business, Private Detox of Utah. Good evening, welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Nice
to see you. Happy holiday week.
Yes, thank you.
We're officially getting started. Talk a little bit, if you would. I think two things I want to start off with are your background and talk about your experience in, and I guess I'll just start with the umbrella word of recovery, but obviously we're going to section that off a little bit and talk specifically about the work that you do, but give us a little bit of background on your experience and on the science of recovery and how it's changed over the decades.
Okay. Well, it has changed a lot over the decades. Initially, when I was going to school, and I've been in medicine for 20 years, they didn't talk much about addiction or alcoholism. It was something that we just kind of knew about and then kind of moved on. And it seems like it's taken a long time for people to become more aware of the situation. And I'm glad that they finally said that there is an opiate epidemic. But the problem is that awareness doesn't always translate into solutions. And so that's why I've been trying to work on a solution to help more people get into recovery. Especially here in Utah in particular, we have a lot of people suffering, but only 1 out of 9 of them are actually getting treatment. And that's not good.
Certainly. Talk about your road to being a part of this, and certainly the culmination. To start a business is the culmination of a great deal of experience. Talk about your medical background and how you became interested in and focused career-wise on treatment.
Sure. So I'm a nurse practitioner, and I'm actually an acute care nurse practitioner, which means that most of my focus has been on acute and critical medicine, so in hospital settings. And I thought that I'd seen the worst when it comes to diseases and illnesses, things that can happen to a person. And it wasn't until much later that I figured out that addiction really is the main issue. That one is, I'd say, probably the most dangerous disease that I've come across, not only because it affects that patient, but it also affects their family and loved ones. It has a ripple effect, and then it's also generational. So it goes down through generations. So the way I ended up coming to kind of working in the recovery field is, quite a few years ago, I ended up with a back injury, and I was given opiates by my doctor. And for a while, it was fine. It was just fine. But over time, that back pain got worse and worse, and the doctor would increase those medicines. And then it would happen again, and then that cycle continued, and before I knew it, I was addicted to opiates. And that was a really, really tough situation to be in. And everything that happens during that course of disease happened to me as well. And because I was able to go through that experience, I had to learn to ask for help, which is really hard to do. I think everyone who's dealt with this disease has thought, oh, I can take care of it myself. And I tried, and I have all this background in medicine, and I couldn't do it. So I eventually got Detox, and then I went through rehab and been on the road to recovery ever since. So I'm in long-term recovery now. But that's when I really woke up, because it wasn't just dealing with the disease. That transformation that happens when you get into recovery can be life-changing. So it was a pivot point in my life. I wouldn't wish anyone to have addiction, but for me it was a key point to who I've become today. And it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things, not only as far as myself, but seeing other people and how I practice medicine. So after that, I started working in the field of recovery.
It seems that so many people who are so very passionate about helping others through the recovery process have their own story of addiction and recovery, and almost seems in some ways as though an essential ingredient for folks who really have the wherewithal to give of service to other people, and because of the knowledge of what it's like to go through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes it easier for the patients to relate, because a lot of times they might think you're not going to understand, especially coming from a medical background.
And we make assumptions about medical professionals that somehow, even though you're more exposed to it, not that you're just going to walk by the candy jar in a hospital or something, but you're in the nexus of it, and yet by the same token we think, well, I mean, you're a professional, you couldn't possibly fall victim to the pernicious addiction that is reality for opiates and opioids, without a doubt.
Exactly.
So, how long have you been working in the field then?
I've been working in the recovery field itself for about 4 to 5 years.
And talk a little bit about Private Detox of Utah. First and foremost, talk about the background of it, because I'm guessing that it's a contentious field. People are very emotionally invested in this topic because of what it does to people's lives, their own family members, etc. And my impression is that people have very sort of strict interpretations of what's the right way to do things. Talk a little bit about this idea of separating detoxification, and also, of course, it's right there in the title, private detox. So rather than going to a facility, what you're doing is taking the service to people in their homes.
Yeah, we are trying to move it out of the hospital and detox centers. So Private Detox of Utah does private in-home detox, and that's to make sure that the patient is a little more comfortable. So typically when someone wants to get into recovery, they're told that they need to detox first, and then they're sent to a detox center or a hospital. And a lot of times, although they're very well-meaning, but it can be kind of an impersonal, cold environment. It could be a very public situation, or it could be the opposite, where it's a lockdown unit and they take your shoelaces from you, etc. And a lot of people who have addiction and alcohol issues are normal people. They have families, they have jobs, they have responsibilities, and the thought of leaving for a full week to go and take care of this can be really overwhelming. So it's become a deterrent for people to not get into recovery, because that first step is so scary. And so recognizing this as an obstacle, we wanted to make that first step a little bit easier. And because I've been doing recovery and working in the hospitals, doing detox there, and also for recovery centers, I found that there was no reason we couldn't do this at home. Now, there's going to be some exceptions, of course, and we watch for those, but for the most part, we can do the same thing in a home that we can do in a detox center.
Interesting. And let's take a quick break. I want to talk about a little more detail about the business so people understand the process, not so much the business, but the process, and talk about your hopes for the future.
All right.
It's Ann Bolter from Private Detox of Utah. We're going to be right back. More conversation on detoxification. Welcome back to the Mountain Views program here on Park City Television. We are discussing addiction, recovery, and new modalities of treatment in order to achieve the first goal and requirement in the road to recovery, which is detoxification. We're here with Ann Bolter from Private Detox of Utah. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about what it means to take what I think we all assume that when you're going to detox, right, to put it in the short vernacular, that's going to be at a facility. You're going to be people hovering over you, and as you alluded to in our first segment, it's different for everyone. Not everyone is at the same level of addiction, but talk about what it means to step into the home or a private setting to provide detox services, and talk also about how you make those determinations. I suppose in a way it's a diagnosis of what level people are at in terms of the services that they need.
Yes, we have to do a lot of kind of pre-assessment, especially when you want to do something like home detox, because you need to make sure that people are safe to have that at home. So, for example, a lot of times with alcohol and benzos, if you try to detox off of those by yourself, they can have seizures. So someone who has regular seizures or a lot of comorbidities aren't going to be the best candidates to do this at home. But for the most part, it is really the same process. So we use the same medications, a lot of the same tapers that you do in the hospital setting, but we're able to kind of keep them in a more comfortable environment. So what we do is we have a doctor come to their house. They do a full history and physical, make sure that they're safe, and then that doctor really gets to know them. And once that's done, they set up a protocol for that person. So they get medications according to what they need and their symptoms. So it's very individual, where in a detox center, it's kind of, you have a protocol and everyone's kind of getting the same protocol.
Sure, sure.
So this is very specific for that patient. And that doctor comes back and visits the patient every single day. And this is to ensure their safety, to adjust medicines, to check the medications that were prescribed to make sure things are going well, and just to make sure the patient overall is doing well. And they have 24-hour access to a doctor or nurse practitioner, because issues and problems, they come at any time, and they're not usually between 9 and 5. So they always have someone around, and I want people to feel like they have that background, someone's behind there making sure everything's okay. Then while we're there, we also do a lot of education for both the patient and the family members, and connect them with community resources. But the final thing that we do, and to me this is one of the most important parts, is we help them find a recovery program, because detox is not recovery.
Right.
And I want people to make sure that they understand that that's the case. But we collaborate with a lot of recovery centers, recovery groups, doctors and therapists, and there's a lot of variety of things you can do for recovery.
Yeah,
so we kind of help them find something that works well for their lifestyle.
Interesting. It's heartening to hear that portion of the moving forward beyond just getting the drugs out of the system, stopping the continuing behavior, is only the beginning of the process. Talk about how folks can get involved with you, and kind of what the expectation is for people.
So really, we could just be contacted at any time, and they have our website, which is Private Detox of Utah, and we have a Facebook page. And the process is usually they give us a call, we kind of talk to them, we've got to make sure that they are going to be an appropriate candidate, and that includes having family support and also being in a good environment. One other thing we can do is we can do it in any environment. So it doesn't necessarily have to be their home. It could be in a hotel or at somebody else's home. So wherever their place of choice is, wherever they can feel comfortable and still maintain that safe environment.
It occurs to me that this is a little more patient-driven or family unit-driven, perhaps, than the way that treatment, in the most general sense, has gone in years and decades past. Is this a trend that you're seeing in other parts of the country, and are you the first practitioner to be offering these services in the home setting here in Utah?
In Utah, yes. So no one's offering that. I have seen similar programs in California and Florida and Texas, but it's not really caught on just yet. But at this point in time, there's so many people who need help. It's really time to start thinking outside of the box and coming up with other solutions, because there's not just one way to recover. There's multiple ways. In the same way, there's a couple different ways to detox as well.
Indeed. I assume that for folks, this is going to be economically a better option, simply because you're not inpatient, you're not having the bed, the meals, all of those kinds of things. I'm guessing that from a business standpoint, this is an attractive option for a lot of people.
Yes, it definitely is. We actually charge a lot less than the usual detox center. And in Utah, on average, people are paying between $5,000 to $8,000 or more to do detox. And that can really add up. And that's typically
a 1 week period, is that?
Yeah, for most people, it's between 5 to 7 days. And so there's a little bit of variance there.
Gotcha. And tell folks one more time how to get a hold of you, and I'll look forward to more conversations on this topic.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, you can find us at privatedetoxofutah.com. We also have a website with Facebook, so Facebook as well as LinkedIn. And we're going to be featured this Saturday for Small Business Saturday, and we are actually going to offer some money off. So we're going to offer $250 off detox services, and we're going to extend that also throughout the holiday season. And we do this because, we're really grateful for our loved ones.
Absolutely, and so many people out there, I'm sure, right now are dreaming of what it might feel like to be sober for the holidays.
Oh, yeah, and it's amazing.
It is. And nice to meet you. Thank you for sharing your story with us, and I'm sure that we'll be seeing you again.
Great, thank you.
All the
Appreciate
best.
it.
Ann Bolter, privatedetoxofutah.com. Go find out more information if you or a loved one are in need of being detoxified. This is an option that may be one for you to explore. Make sure that information is your ally in any case when you are dealing with addiction. Quick break. Elizabeth Dunford is back. She's going to have the accordion. It's really beautiful and special. Stay with us. We'll be right back.